Reuniting with estranged children.
We all have a satisfaction associated with doing something that somebody finds useful.
Hi, my name's Rex Harris, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Light Rope for the Bold with Kellan and Fluckiger. Now, before we turn this over to Kellan, the reason that Marissa and I wanted to speak with you today is to share with you some of the things that's happened in our family since we started working with Kellan and following the results equation. We're a family who's been through a lot together over the years, and there's been a long period of time where even though we've been under the same roof, our family has been pretty much estranged from one another. And in working with Kellan, in following what the results equation teaches, we've been able to bring a lot of healing into our family. Want to talk about the necklace? The necklace is kind of part of it.
It is. It's kind of part of it.
It is kind of part of it.
Yeah. Two hearts together to make one. And then a pretty little stone in the middle.
What she said. It's been phenomenal for us to be able to restore a relationship as dad and daughter again. And working with Kellan and following what the results equation teaches has been what has brought this back together. She's always been the person in the family that has wanted that unity in the family. So more than anything, I think that's probably what means the most to you. Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, well, let's turn this over to Kellan. I love you.
Sounds good to me.
See ya.
So, most people think that the results equation is really a business tool. That regardless of the sort of other applications, that results really is talking about cash. Green stuff in your wallet, in your bank. Yeah, here we are right here. Schrodinger's cat is dead. Now, I don't know how many of you follow the quantum physics. There was a recent series, 10-part series on one of the PBS stations about Einstein and Niels Bohr and quantum theory and general relativity and the discovery of many of those things, and Heisenberg and Germany at the time of the war and the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and the race to the nukes and all of that sort of thing. And Schrodinger, of course, has his wave equations, and then the experiment about it has to do with the uncertainty principle and then the measurement of a cat being dead or alive. And of course, the other side of the shirt says Schrodinger's cat is not dead. Anyway, this has nothing to do with the broadcast today. The results equation is just that. Do you want a result? What is the result you want? And it is a process to deal with both mindset and mechanics. What things do you do? What are the actions you take? And what are the things that have to happen in the mind in preparation, in terms of getting the motivation to make things happen, and in response? So the mindset and mechanics are really all there is to get any result you want. If you're here and you want to go there, it doesn't matter where here and there are. The mindset and the mechanics are the two parts. So today I want to talk about reuniting with estranged children. Now, estrangement between two people can happen for any number of reasons. There can be, almost always, there's a lot of fear involved. On one side or both sides. Fear of, I'll do it wrong. They'll never accept me. They'll hate me. No matter what I do, it will never be enough. Or it's all my fault. Or it's all their fault and I can never forgive them. And I don't care. I'm afraid they'll never change. And I'm afraid this, I'm afraid that. So fear is a big basis. But the actual mechanics, that's a mindset thing, right? Mechanics of estrangement can be, there's a misunderstanding and someone says or does something and then nothing happens for a while to correct it or adjust it. And so the misunderstanding perpetuates and it gets larger and larger. And pretty soon it becomes the governing event in the relationship. And all of the other things that happened in the relationship either don't matter anymore or somehow get reinterpreted in light of this new reality, quote. And so whatever it was a fight, there was a misunderstanding, there was an event. It often happens in blended families where people come together under not the most ideal circumstances. But at this period of time, I have gone through a period of estrangement from my mother. And it's come very much as a result of, I was abused as a child, a lot of physical stuff, and that's, what was. And I never received any kind of acknowledgement even that it was so, or an apology or anything else. That doesn't have anything to do with it. My goal as a kid was to get approval. Approval from my mom. And I couldn't, never did. Doesn't matter what I did, made millions of dollars, big jobs, big stages, big family, lots of kids, lots of grandkids for her, lots of visits and everything else. It was never approval. It was never okay, right? So that led to me being frustrated, and I had suffering from depression for many, many years, many decades, right? And so then there was a time when I finally realized, I've got to do something different. Bad things happened. And this is a pattern for estrangement in families. So there's some event or set of events or a period of time. There's misunderstanding, or maybe not. But one thing is key, besides this fear that I said, is things change. There is always opportunity to change. And the question is just going to be who will instigate or who will recognize, who will take a step, who will make a move on the possibility that there is a reunification or a betterment even, a reduction in the estrangement, and eventually a place past estrangement to, back to friendship and growth and perhaps familial love, returning at some point. It's not a either or, it's a meter, right? So there's a lot of fear that takes place. There's a lot of inaction that takes place. Their fault, they need to be first. A lot of that sort of feeling that governs these things. And somehow, somewhere, one of the parties decides, I don't want this current reality to define forever. I'm not willing to do that, so I'm going to try again, a new way, a different way. And maybe enough time's gone by that it's no longer important who was right or who was wrong about certain things, or who said what, or who was unkind, or, things that used to matter a lot suddenly stop mattering. And the facts of the circumstance don't change, but the story that we have about it. Because my mom did a certain thing, therefore she hates me, therefore we'll never be together, therefore we'll never love each other, therefore. And there's this long list of things, right? What if one of the therefores is wrong? What if one of my mom did this because she doesn't like that? What if that because is wrong? What if one of the things that we just sort of assume because we're obviously right? It's our feelings. What if one of them isn't? Or what if one of the things that we assumed about ourselves is wrong? So, for example, in my situation, I was brought up with the idea that everything was my fault. My bad, my, I suck, right? And when I stopped believing that, just for a minute even, maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't matter. What if I just drop that piece of the story and I go on without that? And you ask one simple question, who would I be without that story? Well, I'd be a person who reached out and said this. Okay, well, let's set that story aside for a minute, and let's just be the person who reaches out and says that, says the new thing, extends the olive branch, sends an email, sends a note, says hi, says good morning, I missed you, or goes out of their way at work or at home, or there's 1,000 ways depending on the circumstances. There's 1,000 ways to reinterpret the story or drop the story. There's 1,000 ways to just make that first move. And when that happens, you don't control the outcome. The other party may be locked up and enjoying their own bitterness and poison, and they may just grab another swig of that anger, click the glass down and say, you still suck. Okay. But it's actually not the same as the one before, because you internally have changed. You've said, you know what, I don't buy the old stories anymore, and I see they're not quite ready. Okay. But the story isn't the same anymore. So next time, it's easier to do again, Because the rejection isn't about me, it's about them being ready to take a new adventure, a new path through the woods. Okay, so what does this have to do with the results equation? Well, in the results equation, we start with the present, understanding the present. Where am I? And in the case of an estrangement, we are estranged. We don't talk. If we do, we don't see each other, so we don't need to interact, so it's easy. We do see each other, and it's really painful, so we're either completely emotionally cold, we ignore each other, or everything is curt and superficial, but there's no connection. That is what is, and so we define what is, and then we start asking some deeper questions. How did we get here? And then there's an analysis and a thought process about how to get here. And the results equation steps you through a questioning process that works for anything you want to do. And the context of the questions that I ask in the results equation changes so powerfully that whether you're saying, how did we end up hating each other like this? Or if you're ending up saying, how did I end up with a business that's losing $1,000 a quarter? Or how come this product we've introduced is so successful? The context of the question changes so much that it doesn't matter what the result is. And that is the beauty of the equation. And so in the case of reuniting with estranged children or an estranged family member, but we're talking about kids right now, the powerful and invincible process of the results equation is the answer if you are ready to be honest and tell the truth. Because the results equation brooks no lies. If you are prone to lie, it will not help you, and in fact, it will reinforce your stance and the place that you are today. If you are ready to tell the truth, the results equation can return love and fellowship to your heart.
Thank you for watching the videos. Take this opportunity, leave a comment, subscribe most of all, and don't forget to spread the word about this channel.